anything stick out to you? Just anything in the verse. You don't have to try to explain it or anything. Just and let me preface this before you go any further or before you say it. All this is doing is this is actually I'm teaching you a different kind or maybe a kind that you don't use regularly or whatever of Bible study. That's what we're actually doing here. So what sticks out to you may not stick out to me, because what sticks out to us more often than not is something that we're affected by right now, or something that's affected us from our past or whatever. It causes us to look at the word differently. So that's what we're really doing here. So with that said, I actually underlined several for me.
I guess the part that actually, this is a question.
Okay?
Above it in 34, it says he cast out devils through the prince of the devils. Are the Pharisees calling Jesus a devil in that scripture?
They're actually saying that the power he has to cast out demons, because they see that. They say they're trying to say he's getting it from the devil.
Okay.
But that wouldn't happen anyway. But anyway, I'll share what come to me, and then I'll tell you why, and then you can do my thing, which I know why it's come to me. My first thing that I underlined was actually in verse 36. It says he was moved with compassion. And if we look at that, we can look at that in a lot of different areas within the Word, where Jesus, anytime he came upon a group of people and began to heal or began to, even individuals, but he was always moved with compassion. And that, for me, I believe that's how he's put me together. I move with compassion to help people. But the other part that stuck out to me was farther down. So, actually, in verse 38, it says, "Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest." Okay. So if we look at the NLT in that, it says, "So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest." Okay. So what he's saying is, pray to the Lord and ask him to send more workers into the fields. Okay, we can look at this one. It says, "Pray ye therefore to the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest." So we've talked about this in lessons and messages and all, that the harvest is ripe. There's a lot of people out there right now. There are a lot of people out there right now that are ready for someone to just invite them to church. We actually were at a meeting yesterday morning, and they said that 20% of people that don't attend church said that they would go to church with somebody if they would just invite them, if one of their friends would invite them. And they say actually it's one of those things where you have to invite them multiple times. But so there are people that are ready, but they don't want to just go into a church by themselves. So there's like, if a friend were to invite me, I would go with them. I would show up with them. But our thing right now is we have places in the church that we need help. So we need laborers in order to be able to harvest, be able to be ready for those people that are coming in. So that's what we really need. So those are the two spots that really stick out to me. There are some others, but I don't want to take them all. You want to share? Did you find something else? And any of you online, go ahead and hit me up on the messenger. I don't think I can. think of anything, Shauna, that's really grabbing you, or just kind of it's all just there?
All just there.
Okay. Well, I tell you what. Here's one thing that I also noticed is in the NLT. If we go to back to verse 6 or 36, sorry. If we go back to verse 36, it says, "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them." So I already touched on that. And then it says, "Because they were," and the King James says they fainted and were scattered abroad. Okay, they fainted and scattered abroad. Well, that's good, but I like what the NLT says here. The NLT actually says that he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. And I like that better because it number one, it puts it better in our vernacular. But how often do we look out across people today that don't know Christ, and we see that they're confused? And so many of them are struggling right now because they've made bad decisions, and things are happening. They feel helpless. They feel literally helpless to be able to, have someone to lift them up, to have someone to actually be there to help them see the error of their ways, or however you want to do it. That would be the main thing there. So whenever we're there, we can learn from these things and say, hey, the Lord's telling us that there's a harvest out there. And that harvest is a harvest of people that simply need Him, but they're confused, they're helpless, and they need someone, they need another sheep, they need someone else to go out and help to draw them in. They need that. And that's our job. The thing is that right there is our job, and it's what we're supposed to do for them, but it makes it hard. We struggle with that. Many people struggle with it more than others. They have social anxieties. They're not used to going out and going out and fulfilling the gospel. But it's not that we have to go out and preach it. We go out and we share it with those that are in need, but we share it in a way that our actions speak it. Our actions are loud, and I see that a lot of people, they just see us with a good attitude even, and a smile on our face, and they wonder, hey, in this world that you're in right now, how can you be happy? How can you be joyful? And one thing we have to go back to, as we go back to the book of James, it tells us that we're supposed to choose joy. Choose joy. But it's hard. But that's why we are supposed to go out and help. That's why we need to pray, as it says in verse 38. We need to pray to the Lord of the harvest that He might send laborers for the harvest. And that's what we need right now. We actually were in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, actually not quite 2 weeks ago. We were in a meeting, and we had a specific prayer request. They had come, and they had it was a group of pastors and ministers, and they had came here to pray for our church. It was on a Wednesday morning, and they asked what we needed within the church. And the one thing that they said, or that we told them that we definitely needed, was we needed workers. We've got a children's program, we've got teens, or our student ministries in total. We need help with that. We need God to send us laborers that are not only willing, but that are able and capable of being able to speak the word, to teach the word to them on their level. And we need more laborers, because so many of our people that are helping in our kids crew and in our student ministries, so many of them are doing multiple things within the church, and we need to be able to delegate those things out a little bit better. So one thing, if we look in verse 35, it says, "And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, okay, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people." And I love that because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go out. Now, we don't have to look at it as going out into all the cities, villages, teaching in the synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, but we can say, you know, hey, I can go out into my neighborhood, I can go out into my place of work, I can go out into my apartment complex or whatever it might be, and I can share the love of God with people. I can share what God has done in my life, or what He's actually still doing in my life. I need to be in the position that I do that I share that. And Jesus told us that we would be able to do what He did and do greater things. And I believe this is attached directly to it. It's not just talking about all the miracles, which we can read a little bit further. It says that healing every sickness and every disease among the people. Everyone that He come into contact with, He healed. It says every. It doesn't say most. It doesn't say some. It says every. So we know that when He came into contact with people, they did not leave the same. They didn't leave the same. And so we've got to try that same thing. Not that just because we're in contact with the people, but because the Christ within us is in contact with the people when we are. And we need to make sure that they, hopefully, do not leave the same after leaving out of our presence. Even if all we do is plant a simple seed. Just a seed, a hello, can plant a seed. Because I'll tell you right now, there have been many times that I went out of my way, even recently, especially recently, there's been times that I went out of my way to say hello to somebody, and they have looked at me like, the look on their face was like, I can't believe you actually said anything to me, or I'm actually, somebody paid attention to me, somebody said something to me, I'm not invisible. I've seen that. I was actually watching a YouTube video just a few days ago, and it's a guy that he doesn't profess to be a Christian or anything like that. He's just doing good, but he goes out into communities that have homelessness or people just sitting in the park on the bench or whatever, just alone, and he will sit down with them, and he takes like a drink that's sealed, of course, so they'll feel good about being able to drink it or whatever, and maybe a snack, or he might take them a blanket if it's cool out, or just something different, but he just sits down and he introduces himself. He says hello and asks them how they're doing and things like that. And one of the videos I watched, the girl said, I actually exist. She says, I was just wondering if I actually exist, because nobody has talked to me or spoke to me in over a week. And I don't know her backstory or anything, but if nobody's talked to her in over a week, that's a struggle. That's definitely a struggle there. And but she said, you recognize, you said something to me, so I do exist. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants you to think that you're useless and that you don't exist, that you're just taking up space, you're using oxygen that other people could be using, all of these different things. But that's why we, as individuals, we have to step up and go out and just say, hey, how are you doing? Hello. You don't have to have a big conversation in your head with them, before you can go up there. It's like, what am I going to say? I don't know what to say, and all these things. All we have to do is we simply have to go up and say hello. We just, even a smile. You'll know if they're approachable after you smile at them. But just a smile even. And, we've got to learn to do that more. So, I wanted to try to read this. And I'm not seeing any other chats at the moment. I'm going to read this also. I don't normally. All right. I want to see. I'm looking for it in a different version. Let's look at it in the Message. I always like how the Message makes things plain. I'm going to look at our same passage in the Message. We're going to wrap up with this. Okay, so we're going to read Matthew 9:35 through 38. We're going to read it in the Message. It says, "Then Jesus made a circuit of all the towns and villages. He taught in their meeting places, reported kingdom news, and healed their diseased bodies, healing their bruised and hurt lives." I like that. When he looked out over the crowds, his heart broke. So confused and aimless they were, like sheep with no shepherd. "What a huge harvest," he said to his disciples. How few workers. On your knees and pray for harvest hands." I like that. He's telling them, get on your knees and pray for harvest hands. I like that. It's got some good translation here. Jesus, I mean, it's just like it's coming from his mouth. You know, he sees this. He's heartbroken for them. And I like how it says, though, in verse 35, it says, "Then Jesus made a circuit of all the towns and villages. He taught in their meeting places." Okay, that's good. "He reported kingdom news." I like that. He reported kingdom news. What's kingdom news? Well, we're looking at it, the Bible. He reported what was going on in the kingdom. He was reporting how things were happening, that he was there to baptize. He was there to heal the sick. That's kingdom news. And then it says, "And he healed their diseased bodies, healed their bruised and hurt lives." And so we've got to look at it. There are many, many people out there that need healing. And it's more than healing just in their physical body. Many people need healing in their hearts and minds because they've been taken advantage of, they've been hurt, and some of them are carrying those same hurts for years and years. We need that. We need that healing. And the only way, to be honest, the only way that healing is going to come is through relation with him and getting into a fellowship of other Christians, other like-minded people. That's what it's going to take. So, anyway, any questions or comments today? Such a full class.
I do, but it's about something totally different.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish up with this, and then we'll see what you got there. All right. So we hope to see the rest of you at 10:45 for service. And today my wife and I, we're going to be teaching on prayer, fully devoted to prayer. God bless.